Are you interested in angels, demons, spirits, ghosts, and monsters? Are you curious about their origins, tales, and influence upon history and on the present day? If so, sit back, relax, and welcome to Southern Demonology, the podcast that explores all of this and more. Hello all, and welcome to this inaugural episode of Southern Demonology Bites, a limited run series where I go over some horror movies to get you in the mood for the Halloween season. Note, you may be thinking to yourself, wow, you must have confidence or bravery to have a show title that ends in a hard S, considering that you have a lisp. I would say to you that nope. This entire idea came to me in a flash, and as a programmer and engineer, I have the fatal flaw of being absolutely horrible at naming things. I'm lucky that the podcast itself isn't called YAAPAD, or yet another academic podcast about demons. If you understand that reference, then you, by law, must now like this episode. I hate it, I'm sorry, but I don't make the rules. For this mini show, we're going to talk about an obscure little series of mini horror movies that you might not have heard about from Japan. Yamidouga. Translated literally, it means dark animated pictures, or simply dark videos. Now, on the surface, these don't look like anything special. In fact, they remind me of horror DVDs that you can still find bundled with magazines to help them stand out in the crowd. Here's a little tidbit you might not be aware of. The magazine market in Japan is huge. Every konbini, or convenience store, has a huge rack of them for sale, and so do physical bookstores, of which there's a plethora. Anyway, back to Yamidouga. There's never a plot to these. Each movie, which lasts about an hour, is simply a series of interviews. And the interviewee is typically a person who is recording a video and happened to capture something very strange. And as you keep watching a given show or the series themselves, then you will come to realize that the interviewer is from a firm that specializes in investigating paranormal phenomena to see if A, they're legitimate, and B, if they can understand the reasonings why they happened. Common to much of Japanese media, horror especially, explanations are done simply with white text on a black field where you can see some sentences you never, or at least I certainly did not, expect to ever read, like, quote, present law in Japan does not punish the murder done by curse magic, unquote. These films are translated, but as you can probably tell, the quality is pretty poor. The person doing the translation is obviously not fluent in English, so you will sometimes see politically insensitive words sometimes, or just flat out poorly worded sentences. However, the translations are clear enough to understand what's going on. I actually enjoy the translations as they are literal ones, so it's easy for me to follow along and correct and or learn new words in Japanese. And as for special effects, they're either not there or they are just blatantly bad. So with all of these negatives, you may be wondering, why in the world should I watch them? Why in the world do you like them? And I most certainly do. You used to be able to find one or two of these on Amazon Prime for free, but that's no longer the case. You keep getting this is not available in your region. You can rent a handful of them for $1.99 US each. Hint, you can find the first one on YouTube now, fully translated. But I have watched and rented all 16 in the series, and there's a few reasons why I really love them. First, I love Japanese horror, usually because there's nothing innocent about it. If you happen to find yourself faced with a paranormal situation, then you can either kiss your life goodbye or you are in for one of the creepiest of all things possible. And it doesn't need to rely upon big budgets or CGI effects. I mean, look at the original Ring, and I mean Ringu, not the bad American remake movie of it. There's very little special effects there, but it's all the more scary because of that. It makes them focus on the plot, which is amazing. Second, and this might just be me, but I love glimpsing the normal aspects of Japanese life and how the horror elements come from places of cultural significance. But the last is that these interviews, interspersed with the actual recordings, are never just one-trick ponies. If you've ever watched a Japanese talk show where they're featuring horror videos, then you'll typically see a short little clip, quickly followed by, "Did you see it?" Then they will slow it down a little, and then they'll slow it down even further, and then point out a bad CGI effect, typically. Yamidouga ramps that up quite a few notches. There's normally something obvious that anyone can catch, but then they'll do some more investigating and find anywhere from 2 to 5 more details about the video that makes it way creepier. Then they even sometimes have follow-on analysis with other interviews to clarify anything that's not clear. In short, they are just really done very, very well, and I cannot get enough of this series. Before wrapping up, I do have one other series to tell you about. It's a little different in that it's actually a kids anime called Yami Shibai. And each episode always starts off with its trademarked opening line, "Yo Tedashai, mi Tedashai, Yami Shibai no Jikan dayo," which is essentially, gather around, it's time for dark stories. It's a short form anime, meaning that it's only 3 to 5 minutes long. And it's not fully animated. Rather, you have a series of still pictures that tell a story. But I love it. While not every episode is a winner, heck, some seasons are themed and those are typically on the bad side. I'm looking at you, season 2. But it is a long-running series to currently clock in at 10 seasons. And even better, if you have older kids who like scary stories, then it's the perfect thing that you can share with them. Just watch them first, for there are a few that will very easily scare even the adults in the room, especially season 1's episode entitled The Umbrella Goddess, or Kasakami. You've been warned. And that does it for this first episode of Southern Demonology Bites. If you liked it, then please feel free to like and follow on whatever platform you're listening to this on. It really helps me out quite a bit. And as always, feel free to join our Discord, the friendliest corner of the internet dedicated to all things paranormal. And if you're so inclined, you can even support the podcast by becoming a patron for as little as $3 a month. Until next Friday, stay safe out there.